Evening, guys, and we're back again. You know what time it is? 7 p.m. So we're back for Real Relevant and Right Now. And today's episode is the 30th episode, and it's our second edition of Holla Up Our Heroes. So yes, today's hero that we're gonna be hollering up is my long life friend, Kelly Burack. So she will be joining us very, very soon. I'm just going to wait for a few of us to join the show. But how is everybody? How has your weekend been? Today was such a beaut day. I don't know about you, but it was so nice to be out in the sunshine, to clear my mind, take a nice walk. But yeah, how is everybody? How is everybody? Oh, I've got 2 people requesting to join my live. Hey, Karen, you cheeky little. But yeah, so we are back today for Real Relevant and Right Now. And we are going to be hollering up one of our unsung heroes and the people that have been out here working on the front line throughout lockdown, Kelly Burack. So I'm going to get Kels on in a minute. Kelly is a secondary school teacher and she's head of year 11. She's an all-around amazing soul, literally. And I'm so blessed to have her as a beautiful friend. But yeah, it's going to be really, really good. So we're going to get her to share her story. But yeah, I'm just going to wait for a few more of you guys to log in. And then Kelly, I know that you're there. You're ready to come and join us. So I'm going to get you on. And you should live with me in uno segundo. It's connected. Hello, darling. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really well, thanks. Can you hear me all right, Kel?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Loads of people are saying happy to be here. Hello. Hey, guys. So like I was saying, we're back for the second edition of Holla Up Our Heroes. Kelly is one of our unsung heroes. She's been out here on the front line during this bloody lockdown that we're still in. And you know what, Kel? I feel like not only do I just love you, and this is why I wanted you on the show anyway, because we literally have like grown up. I've known you since I was a few months old. But also I just think you're one of the most positive people that I actually know and that I'm blessed to know. And, you know, we've all got stories. We all go through things. But you've just been so positive on social media, the posts that you put out, you know, and it's been tough. I get that it's been tough, you know. For someone like me, I have been working, but I've been working from home, whereas, you know, you've got a lot of people that rely on you and stuff. So let's holler you up, baby, because you're the queen, and queens need to be hollered, y'all. But, okay, Kels, so before we get into the interview, I'm going to fire, I love to do a fire 5, so I just do a little warm-up. I fire 5 questions at you, and you've literally, hey?
I saw this on some of your previous ones and I was like, oh my god, I've got to switch my brain on now. We've been on for a week. I've got to switch it on.
Literally. So yeah, you've got like 0.0001 seconds to answer my questions, right? Okay. Number 1. Okay. Salmon or cream cheese?
Cream cheese. Come
on. Okay, thank you. Physics or chemistry?
Chemistry.
Bagel or bagel?
Bagel.
Thank you. Costa or Starbucks?
Starbucks.
Good shirt or a funky pair of shades?
Oh, can I not have
I know.
Good shirt. It's got to be a good shirt.
Love it. Okay, so Kelly, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really happy to be here. I wanted to, you know, come on for ages because I've seen what you've been doing and it's amazing. Yeah, I'm.
Oh, good for you. Yeah, no, me too. And how's your day been, or how's your weekend been?
Yeah, it's been good. To be honest, this whole week's been amazing because it's been half term. So I've literally been switch the brain off, really just enjoy the week. And we're back tomorrow. So you've caught me at the right time.
Yay! And how do you feel about going back tomorrow? Because I know a couple of my other teacher friends, they're a little bit anxious, you know, after having this break. And then it's like, oh, we've got to get back into the motion of things. How are you feeling about going back?
I think there's always mixed emotions because I'm somebody that just enjoys being at work, regardless of kind of where we are, whether we're actually in or working from home. So I'm forward to going back, but at the same time I also am very aware, as is probably the entire country, that Boris is doing another announcement tomorrow, and who knows what that's going to entail.
Don't go out, go out. No, you can't go out. No, go out. Go back to school. No, don't go back to school.
Not.
I think everyone's just like, what the hell is he going to say?
I know.
And whatever he says, is it going to stick? I don't know.
Exactly. So that's kind of where I think I'm at the moment, but I'm sure a lot of people are feeling the same.
100%. So, Kel, let's dive straight into it. You're obviously you're head of year 11 and you're a science teacher.
Yeah.
Is teaching something you have always wanted to do?
But funnily enough, no. It wasn't my number one career choice. I did a degree. I started my degree in Birmingham, and it just didn't work out, which we'll probably get to later. And transferring into the University of East London, which we both ended up kind of crossing our paths there.
Yeah.
I did my degree in psychology, and I wanted to actually pursue a career in psychology. I was thinking of doing a master's and then a PhD, probably in social psychology or educational, because I've always enjoyed working with kids, and that is my background before teaching. But it wasn't kind of on the forefront of my mind, and I just ended up kind of dropping into the education environment and the route later on down the line, and here we are. It's my number one choice, but I'm glad that this is where I've ended up. So
that's what I was going to say. You have no regrets. You feel like this is your calling.
Absolutely. It's been a long journey to get here. Teacher training is no joke. It's not like an overnight thing. It took me 2.5 years training just to get qualified, and then you have to go through levels there. But I absolutely love it, and it's kind of, when I look back and I say to myself, this wasn't my first career choice. A lot of people are like, really, because I constantly say how much I love what I do, and I constantly how much I enjoy my job, and I can't believe you haven't been doing it for actually as long as we think you have. So I'm very, very lucky.
Yeah, and I think that's a beautiful way in life. I suppose sometimes we can always have these ideas or ideals in our mind of this is what I want to do. But then the way that life goes, you actually end up so far left from what you thought it was that you were going to do. But it actually all just works out, which is why I'm such a believer of kind of, just following your heart and doing what makes you happy, really, rather than overthinking.
Exactly.
But is teaching science something you've always wanted to do, Kel? Because you're a science teacher, and I love that. I love that about you. I think it's amazing.
I've actually got the funniest story.
Okay.
I was thinking, shall I let Kirsty know about this beforehand? And then I was like, no, I'm just going to go with it. But
right there.
I wasn't that good at science in school, and I will not deny that. I wasn't a top student. I got a C and above, but I wasn't that good. And in honesty, so my current department, who's amazing, she actually used to be one of my teachers when I was actually at school. So back in that same environment, and one of the first things she would always say about me is that when I was actually a student, I was never in my lessons. I was actually sitting in the I wasn't in my lessons. Science lesson. I was sitting in the science technician's office, and actually your nan was one of those technicians.
I know, isn't that crazy?
And have a tea, and not
isn't that crazy?
And so science wasn't, my first option, not because I couldn't do it, but psychology was my degree, and it was what I loved to do. But in education, when you're training, you have to train in 2 key stages. You have to do either lower school and GCSE, or you have to do GCSE and A level. And in the school that I was training in, they only offered psychology for A level. So they were like, what is the closest thing to psychology, which is a social science, that we could train you in? Because once I'm qualified, I can actually teach psychology if I wanted to. So I qualified in science, but I can teach psychology. So it was just a perfect opportunity. And I'm not gonna lie, I do actually love teaching science, because I just get to have fun, and that's
do you get to do actual experiments?
At the moment it's been obviously a lot more difficult,
of course,
you know, working from home, and then before that, with COVID restrictions in school, we couldn't really do as many of the practicals we wanted to, but we do get to do them on a day-to-day. Trying to teach a group of year 7 students how to use Bunsen burner is a recipe for
no, I can only imagine. I remember I was in year I think it was year 7.
Yeah.
I don't know what went through our mind, Kelly, but it was me and a close friend that you know, and we were in science, and we were at the very back of the class, and we were meant to be doing something with the Bunsen burner.
Yeah.
And we had sugar. I can't remember what the experiment was. It was a sugar and a Bunsen burner or something else.
Okay.
And we got it in our heads that we could make candy floss.
Oh, good.
Next thing you know, the blind in the back of the bloody classroom was on fire.
Oh,
and
no.
It was, I don't even know what went through our minds. I don't know what we tried, but yeah, so I can only imagine it's probably chaos. Like, I was so happy to not be expelled because I was so sorry, but it was an awful, awful situation. The whole school was evacuated, and we were literally like, we were just trying to make candy floss. So we're really sorry. My school was not impressed.
Really hope that you've learned that you can't.
Yeah, I have. Just basically, I'm not great with fire. But okay, Kel. So you're obviously you're a science teacher, but you're also head of year 11. But I know that you were head of year 9. Like, what does that entail? Because must be a lot of responsibility on yourself, right?
It's, I mean, firstly, it's probably the part of the job that I love the most is working pastorally with students. And I took over this year group that I've still currently got when they were in year 9. So I've been with them from 9, 10 and 11. And of course, with COVID and everything, with the first national lockdown, that really impacted on their year 10. They were only in year for about 3, 4, 5 months, and then we went into national lockdown, so they missed a huge chunk. Then they came back this September, and now we're in another lockdown. So, you know, it's definitely thrown at me a lot of curveballs that I you can't really factor in. You can't really, you know, I saw kind of last year, the head of year 11 from last year is a very good friend of mine, and how that impacted her year. I tried to prepare myself for this year, and that, you know, maybe it's going to happen in the same way, but it's mainly how best I can support those students at the moment, knowing that they're not sitting official public exams, that they are going to have some form of assessment or centre assessed grade, but we don't know because it hasn't been confirmed. So that fine line, and they, you know, they are kids at the end of the day, so they do panic and they get anxious, and it's about supporting them in the best way, or how best to support them, and that has definitely been more of a challenge.
Yeah, because I was just going to say to you, what have you found most challenging? Because I'm guessing when I had one of our heroes on the other week, you know, she was a primary school teacher, and it's very different working with little ones. You're working with year 7 to year 11, you know, which is, you're working with young adults, and they've got feelings and they've got emotions, and they're frustrated and they're angry. Because I actually feel really, I know everybody is going through this right now, but I actually feel super sorry for our young adults, because you know, like, they can't, there's nothing for them to do. You can't go and see your mates, you can't go out, and school is such a huge learning process of growing up, you know, being at school and having the conversations about certain things, and, you know, girlfriends, and just figuring out who you are as a person. School can be a really transitional period, and right now it must be super tough. Like, what have you found, like, with your students when it comes to them, you know, being challenged emotionally and, you know, set aside schoolwork? What has been one of the most challenging things you've come across?
I think for me, it's been how it's impacted on them mentally. They can still, no, absolutely, I completely agree with you. In school, they learn how to socialise. They learn how to regulate how they're feeling, and, you know, apply their thought, and they find inspiration in what they want to do. And they can't do that behind a screen, so to speak. I mean, they can to an extent, but they can't. Even though they can text them, video them, I know what they're. And I think that the uncertainty around what is their next step, and will they be able to see their friends again, or, you know, how they even live being at home with their families, isolated, is really difficult. And me, I think that's probably the hardest, is actually having to reteach them, no matter what age or year group they are, is how to socialise again. Because what I find, and this is genuinely when we did kind of bubbles over the summer, students coming in just to do some extra work,
yeah,
they're waiting in line, and I'm like, you're literally standing next to like at least 5 other individuals that have been in a year group for 5 years, but yet you're not actually talking to them. You know, what's going on? And it's just, you know, for me, something that I was just like, wow, you know, what the impact is going to have on them and how they socialise. And then just by, you know, not socialise effectively anymore, what impact is that going to have on them down the line when they go into sixth form or look for a job?
Yeah.
You know, society or university, you know. So that's definitely a challenge, I think.
Yeah, because I feel like as well, and I know that there's times when I've felt it, you know, like especially in the first lockdown when you could literally only leave for like an hour. As like that hour was kind of extended, and then, you know, I was able to like go into the office for maybe one day out of the week or whatever. It's almost like I had a bit of like social anxiety. It was like all of a sudden it's gone from just the people in my household to now back to the wide world. And even though we've always had access to the wide world, it was quite, even for me, as like, do you know what I mean? I'm 33 this year. It was a bit like I had to take a deep breath before I got on the tube or before I got in a cab. And, you know, it is difficult because I think I'm one of those people. I love to just talk to anyone. You know, I'll talk to people in the street and have conversation. And now it's kind of, you have this conversation with yourself. Should I say hello? Should I not? Do they think I've got COVID? Do I not?
Underneath my mask, you know. And see what I'm saying or see what I'm doing. You know, I agree. I drive pretty much everywhere anyway, but if I could get on a train and go into London, I would. But now I kind of make more of a conscious decision just to drive, because I'm a bit, you know, being around people, too many people. Work, I'm okay because we're very much aware of each other. Doing testing, you know, we keep our distance, we wear masks. But other people, I'm just a bit like, oh no, I'm not. I don't know. I don't think I'm ready for that yet.
It is. It's definitely weird, and I completely relate to you. I know the other weekend I went for a walk, and then I turned down a street that I wasn't meant to go down. I was just kind of walking freely, and then I ended up on like a high street, and then I looked around and I was like, oh my God, there's so many people. I was like, I need to get back to base. And I like, had a bit of a panic and literally did like 180. And so, I think, you know, we are struggling, but I do feel really sorry for our young adults, as I said. And like, have there been anything put into place? Like, or is there anything going to be put into place with schools? Like, I don't know, like I was having a conversation with my friend the other day and I was saying, you know, I don't know if you have kind of school therapists but you know, like for people to actually have somebody to go to and talk to them, because it's so important for us to talk out our feelings. And unfortunately, when we're in this situation, it's been kind of really difficult because you don't always want to talk to somebody on the phone but when you're in somebody's energy, that's when you can say, you know what, actually today I'm really struggling. Or is there anything like that that's going to be put into place with schools?
I mean, I can't obviously speak for every school in general. All schools work so differently, and believe it or not, it does come down to what resources they have available. I do believe that, you know, the school that I work at, we're very lucky, but we are on kind of like the line between we have enough for certain resources but don't have enough for others. You know, we work very closely with an incredible mentoring program where we can refer one-to-one every week with mentors. Do have an on-site school counsellor that doesn't work full-time, but, you know, is there and available, and we can also we have a safeguarding team is always has their door open for students, and we've also put into place things like recovery lessons just to kind of catch up on, you know, on things that they've missed within the wider world that they really would have learned and kind of would have picked up on and would need to be educated on, just to help them. If it's something along the lines of how to, you know, be safe online, you know, work safely online, because they're online so much at the moment. So I've put all of these things in place, but then, you know, and we would they were working brilliantly. It was going really well. But then we went into another national lockdown. So it's kind of like, you know, it's start and we put these plans in and they're going great. And then a decision is made and it's kind of like, okay.
All wax under the table.
So very, very frustrating. And it does feel like sometimes you're back to square one. But then when I look at now with this second lockdown compared to where we were with the first one, I definitely think that we've adapted and we've changed the way we do things that have suited our students, and engagement is better from them. So that's a positive, at least I can take from that.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because I was going to say, like, again, as an adult, as a grown adult, it's super hard to self-motivate. So, you know, self-study and doing all of that at home.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's affected your students in a negative way? Like when it comes to their grades and stuff like that, do you feel like grades have fallen because of what's been going on? I know people are trying their hardest, but...
Yeah, I mean, when I speak on behalf of my year group only, and I know how hard they're working and their resilience has been absolutely incredible. And I constantly tell them how proud I am of them, even though, oh, just be quiet, we don't want to hear you. They are struggling because I don't think they realised until we had a lockdown. And I think the first lockdown, we weren't able to provide lessons. We didn't have a platform that was sophisticated enough for us to give live lessons. We were able to update that system in case we went into this situation, in which we did. And we were able now to provide live lessons. But then what they wake up and they're just sitting even though we've shortened the lessons and we've shortened the day and we've given them break times in between, it's been really difficult for them because out, you know, and I say to them, I was like, you've got to step away from the screen in between your lessons where you actually have a break. We're giving you a break, step away from the screen. And that doesn't mean get off of this screen and then look at your phone. That's another screen, you know. It's but the thing is, you've always got the students that really want to work and that really apply themselves, and they're really stressed out and they're struggling because they're used to, you know, focusing, doing tests, etc., and they can't get, you know, that feedback in the same way that they would in class with a teacher. And then you've got students that are like, oh no, this is working well for me, I'm just cruising by. And then when the exams were cancelled for the summer and then to assess grades, or we have to grade them in a different way, but we don't exactly know what, that's when panic started again. So it's literally swings and roundabouts, you know. One minute, of course, you know, students panicking, then I haven't. Have I seen a decline in their grades? I genuinely can't say yes I have, because we haven't even been able to sit them for any form of, you know, in-class assessment or mock exam because we've been in lockdown. So, and then, would it be fair for me to say, you know, when they get back, oh, we're going to just throw you straight into a mock exam? They'll be like, but then this will probably be what our actual result will be for our GCSE. So you've got to then say, right, how can we assess them without making them feel like too pressurized? So it's constant. It's constant.
And that's really tough. That's like super... There's so much pressure on you, because as everyone, this is a situation none of us have been in before. But, you know, to make these decisions and make these choices that are effectively going to affect these young adults' lives and their future, like, how have you internalized that? Because that is a lot. That is a lot for somebody to take on, or for a team of you to take on, for the school to take on. Yeah.
Believe it or not, you know, I personally think it's fair that we make those decisions, because we've seen how they've progressed in class and how they've grown and how they apply themselves. And we analyse the data as they go through their, you know, their whole education, and especially GCSE. And I think there was, you know, a huge slap in the face moment where in the first lockdown, the government said, it kind of felt like the government said, we don't really trust teachers' decisions, and we're going to just create some ridiculous algorithm that ended up completely lowering every single person's grades. any individuality into account for any student. You know, I have students that, you know, we base their predictions effectively on, you know, data as it goes through, but that excel, you know, when they get to GCSE, they absolutely do incredible, and they're well above their, you know, original target grades.
Yeah.
Not take that into account, and therefore they ended up having to backtrack, which created more work, and go, oh no, actually, you know, we trust teachers now, so we're going to let you predict those grades and give them, you know, teacher assessed grades.
Yeah.
If one comes out better, go with it. That's mad, you know. It felt like a personal attack on it, you know, the education system,
of course. Yeah.
Teachers. And now they have cancelled exams, and they said there's going to be some form of centre assessed grades by teachers, but then we have to do some form of assessment. There was a consultation, they haven't given us the results of that. You know, it's again up in the air. It's like, do you not understand how much goes in on a day-to-day basis, running a school, accounting for everything, not only on a leadership level, but just on a teaching level? And it's kind of like they don't care. They just think we're going to be able to, and we do adapt, but, you know, they could be a bit more considerate, I think, the government. And
100%. And how does that make you feel? Like, in something that you've done, in a niche that you have studied, you know, it's your craft, you know exactly what you do, you know the students that you work with. How does that feel? Somebody else coming along, oh, Boris and his mates, whatever, and basically being like, yeah, you don't know what you have no idea what you're doing, mate. Sorry, Bells.
I mean,
that's it. Like, let me talk to you about teaching, and I'm a carpenter. Or do you know what I mean? Yeah, like, insert some expletives here. No. I think I can speak on behalf of quite a lot of teachers, and a lot of them are my friends. We frustrated, angry, you know, just a bit. We just kind of, we were sitting there a bit like, what? What? You know, bonkers.
Give you data and you're just going to put it into like some algorithm robot, and, you know,
and then produce a magical number.
Yeah, like, do you have any idea actually what's going on in the child's life, or you know, or where the background of this student? And actually, you know, English isn't their first language, and they have worked so hard and they're doing incredible. You know, it's one of those situations where you literally sit there and go, I literally don't know what to say, because I'm so frustrated with the respect that the education system and the government have for teachers within the education system and their judgment. That's literally that. And then they realized they were wrong, and then they flipped it, but then we had no time to really
adjust. No, of course. And do you feel like, I already know the answer to this, but the government has given, you know, educational systems and teachers enough support? And if not, what would be your suggestions? Like, if you were to pitch this to Boris now and say, this is what I feel like we should do, this is what I know would help, and just based on your school, because as you say, you know, every school is different, but like, do you feel you had enough support?
I definitely don't think we have enough support, and I don't think we have enough of a heads up when it comes to him making decisions on what needs to be run. A prime example being, Boris literally did an announcement over the holidays and said that schools were going back. So, but they also need to do mass testing, and they need to ensure social distancing is in place, and all of that. And all of that is absolutely fine. I mean, we spent most of our holidays, because I'm working with leadership a little bit as well, and we've spent most of our holidays planning for that and saying, right, teachers are going to get tested between these times on these days, and have students getting tested, and we're stagger start year groups based on when they get you know, it was full-on strategic planning, and it was a thing of beauty. And then the school term was supposed to start, and Boris decided, or the government decided, no, we're just going to carry on with learning from home, and we're actually going into another national lockdown. So it's kind of, you know, 2, 3, 4 weeks worth of planning work, you know, everything. Informing parents, you know, we send letters to parents, and we inform our staff, and we get things sorted. And in one split decision on one day, with no warning, the whole thing's gone. And then now we've got, as I said, we've got this announcement tomorrow. He keeps going on about schools going back 8th of March. I mean, I don't know how that's really going to be effective.
Feasible. Yeah.
You know, and I know we will get onto the vaccine at some point, but teaching staff aren't vaccinated. Priority. We've got thousands of students coming back to school, mixing when they go on the buses and transport.
And yeah, because this is something that I know that you did really want to talk about, and I know you've got your opinions on the vaccine, but you know, how do you feel that you guys haven't been offered this as a priority, as opposed to, because weren't care workers offered it, and then I believe teachers were, and then they backtracked or something like that. And to me, that does blow my mind, because you guys are on the front line with every other people, like all these children that are not your own, and you're putting yourselves at risk, and then effectively coming home, putting your families at risk, etc., etc. To me, it makes no sense.
I think I completely agree. It's, you know, my views on it. But I just think it's absolutely ridiculous that teachers haven't been to the vaccine.
Yeah.
They're a teacher, you know. I'm lucky that I've had the vaccine for some other reason, but teachers are not considered a priority to have the vaccine. And what I don't understand is, you know, I want to go to Downing Street and go, Boris, how are you going to run a school if all your teachers have got COVID?
Do you know what I mean?
Off site, recovering from COVID. You can't run a school, and you can't effectively safeguard our students of the school if we are not physically there, because we are off ill from COVID and getting COVID, because it transmits so quickly between kids, you know. So all open, I mean, and that was effectively what was going on the last week of half term. Not just in my school, I know a lot of schools had to shut down earlier and set work because teachers were getting COVID. It started spreading so quickly because of the new variants that we didn't have any staff to effectively look after our students on site, so we had to revert to digital learning and home learning. So if we're not vaccinated and we do go off ill, you can't run a school. If the students get ill, absolutely, it's still a risk, because they're having to take home, and you know, they're going home to, could be going to grandparents, you don't know, but they are at home, and we can isolate that, and we can make sure that we get them to access work remotely. We can, you know, video chat them into the lesson if they're well enough to do it. You can't do that if you're a teacher and you're at home ill.
Of course. Yeah.
But I've got 9 different classes that I teach. How am I going to teach that over a 2-week period at home ill with COVID? You know, so I just think it's madness that teachers haven't been considered a priority for a vaccine.
Yeah, and I don't think it makes sense. And I think a lot of these decisions, it's really quite strange. When you reflect, I feel like we're living in a very detached world at the moment. Everyone's detached. There's no like human connection. And I feel like the big idiots, and I have to call them that because I just don't agree with the things that they're doing, and that's just my opinion, but I feel like the decisions they're making are also extremely detached. Yet we've never been a detached society. It's always been about connection, and I don't really understand what is kind of going through the minds of some of these people, because exactly what you've just said, if you are ill, how the hell are you going to help or teach these kids? And these kids need you. They need you. They actually physically need you.
And I hate to bring it into a whole, you know, the government are a particular they've been a particular type of background.
Silver spoons.
Exactly. So
they're just not real.
You know, and it's what you don't understand is public schools. A lot of our students need significant support, and I'm not just talking financially. I'm talking, you know, on so many different levels.
Yeah.
I know that it's a case of trying to make a decision for a majority.
Yes.
And I do understand that, and I'll be honest, I wouldn't want to be the Prime Minister. I would, even though I do think I could probably give him a run for my money.
So do I.
But
Kelly, 2022, let's do this.
But I think that, as you said, there's a certain detachment about the decisions they're making, because I don't think they are fully taking into account actually what the majority of our families in this country are probably, you know, going through. And therefore what support they need. And you know, it's I mean, I I haven't.
Mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mad.
no, I hear that completely. And that was what I was going to lead on to as well. Do you feel like parents have had support? Because that's really tough as well, isn't it? You know, they're at home with their children. They're not qualified, let's say, in science at all. You know, like someone like me, I wasn't great at science either. And it's like, if I then had to teach my teenage kids, like, and help them study, and I don't know, do you feel like parents have had enough support? And how have you guys kind of worked with them, or have you worked with them, or been able to?
Yeah, for us, I mean, our parents know that we're here, especially as heads of year. We have students that are more of a higher concern to us, make sure we check in weekly with. I've got a year group of 150, and I'm doing about at least 30 calls myself a week. My assistant is doing students a week, just to make sure we check in on those that we're most concerned about. But when parents, I think that it's a really difficult, it's a difficult situation that they're in, because especially if they're parents that potentially lost their job from this national lockdown, so there's financial implications there, and I don't know whether or not there's enough financial support being given to parents that lost their job. I know that for us at school, we've tried to link up with as many as possible to provide our low-income families with as much support as we can, but again, other schools don't always have that opportunity. Schools do not get the same opportunities as each other. It's just the way it is. And it's fortunate, because there are a lot of people missing out. Parents are struggling. I look at colleagues who are parents. Some of them are parents of secondary school kids, and they're fine with a laptop in front of them and they're doing their live lessons. That's fine. But if your child is a primary school student and you're a secondary school teacher, and you have to teach various different classes whilst ensuring that your child is also on their class, and even though that does entitle you technically to be a key worker for your child to go into school and learn, what if your school isn't close to where you live? But you've got to take them in, try and get home in time to teach, then go back. That's not feasible, and it's not,
of course.
And I do think that parents are struggling, but it does definitely depend on the situation. It's an individual, you have to apply, what situation they're in, because parents are in the same situation. But I do think a lot of parents are finding it very, very difficult.
Yeah, no, and I completely hear that. And Bells, what would you give, like, if you could give 3 tips of advice to your students out there that are self-studying and are struggling, or whatever it is, what 3 bits of advice do you think that you could give them to just help them with what they're doing right now?
I think, and I actually do give these 3 tips out to my students. But the first is, as I said before, when you have your break in between lessons, so we give a 5-minute session in between, and we give them a break, and we give them a lunch, and we actually finish school live learning earlier than we would if they were actually in school. Step away from a screen. Do not be near a screen. Go and make yourself a drink, something to eat. Don't be anywhere near a screen in between that free time, because it's too much. I'm even finding the effects. So, for them who have got developing brains, even more so, it's too much. The second thing is, once they finish their day, I want them to exercise. Get out, go for a walk, get some fresh air. Because some of them are sitting in their bedrooms on their computers all day, and
all day, every day. It's not good.
Get yourself out. And I think the third thing is have a good breakfast, because food fuels
that energy.
And it's important as growing individuals that they have a good start to their day. And I think breakfast is important meals for them, and I say that to them, and hopefully it gives them a little bit more structure as well.
Yeah, no, I think that's great advice, Kel. And I just want to read a couple of comments. I know a few people have asked questions, but we're already, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through them all, but Gabby has said, go Kelly, bang on the doors. And Emma has said, yes, Kelly, bang on the doors. I'll be right behind you.
Brilliant.
So I think we need to start a petition. Go knock on Boris's door and tell him how it is. Literally. But Bells, let's talk a little bit more about you.
Okay.
I've heard kind of how lockdown has affected you as a teacher, and how you've been dealing with that and dealing with your students. But How has it affected you personally? Because I think for all of us, you know, there's been looking after our mental health is super, super important. And I know that you live on your own, you know, and I know that first lockdown was very tough because you couldn't see anybody. So how has lockdown been for you as Kelly Burack, like the beautiful person that you are?
So, I mean, you know, that first lockdown was horrendous. I can't put it any other way. And at least I can say the government got something right in that they recognised those that lived on their own really struggled mentally, emotionally, socially during that first lockdown, because support bubbles weren't in place during that first lockdown. They didn't have available. So I literally lived on my own, and I was allowed out once a day to exercise. It got to the point where I said to the head teacher at the school, I would like you to rota me on for 2 times a week in school. You know, looking after the key worker kids, just to get out of my flat and just
a bit of an outlet.
Yeah, and just to see another human being, because I couldn't see my family or my friends, and I will never ever say that my situation was more difficult than somebody else's. It's like you always say, Kirsten, we say everybody's situation is different, and everyone through their own, you know, difficulties behind closed doors. We don't know, but you know, my friends, a lot of them are married and they have kids, and I know that that's been difficult because they've been around them all day, every day. But it was another human being they can physically see, whereas I'm sitting at home with cats. Curse, you know what I mean? Like
she's gonna become the cat lady, the woman with all the cats.
I genuinely thought I was going to become crazy cat lady. So that was really difficult, and I found myself becoming more OCD, and I do have OCD, but I became more OCD.
It was intensified.
Yeah, it was like it was too much. You know, the way that we were teaching as well was we were setting assignments and then we were marking them. We weren't doing live lessons, so you couldn't even see your classes. And it was that lack of interaction, and that, because I'm a sociable person and I absolutely love my friends, I love my family, I love seeing them. That was so difficult, even if it was a video chat, which my friends and family were amazing. They were video chatting me, I was okay, you know, that I don't know, luxury spent everything on Amazon, because that's all we could do at the time, which is impulse buy everything on Amazon.
Oh my gosh, Kelly, I've like got a whole new wardrobe and I'm like, where am I going?
Where am I
going?
But it's and it was amazing how thoughtful they were, but again, it was behind the screen, and it wasn't. I love being able to just go over to a mate's and have a cup of tea, you know, have a cup of tea,
be in the energy for a bit, and
and at least the government recognised that, and they introduced support bubbles, because now I have a support bubble and I can meet up with that, you know, that person and see them and go for walks and, you know, go over to their, over to mine. So I'm lucky to be able to say that I have that. But if that was taken away, you know, I would seriously worry about how it would affect my mental health, because that first lockdown was seriously tough, and I somebody that maybe wasn't as in tune with how they feel mentally, and acknowledging that would have struggled even more. So it's you know, that was very difficult. That was very difficult.
Yeah. And I know, Kel, that we spoke, but you obviously tragically lost your nan in October of last year, which I know was super hard. And I think it's something that many of us have suffered loss in one way or another throughout this lockdown. And it's hard to grieve and process that loss in the situation we're in. Like you were just saying, you know, you could usually be with your family and have cuddles and have kisses or eat and talk about memories, and we're not allowed to do that right now. So how have you kind of been processing that grief and that pain? Because I know that's been a real tough thing that I know I've been going through. I lost a few loved ones recently, and it's hard. It's hard when you can't reach out and be around family.
It's a weird one, because of course, you know, my nan was not, I could see when we went into lockdowns, so she wasn't somebody that was able to video call. Like my grandma is like a technical wizard,
savvy.
Yeah, fun and voice notes and sends. But my nan wasn't, you know, she was more elderly and wasn't able to do that, and lived in a care home. And as you know, care homes full on went into lockdown, couldn't visit. So when we lost my nan, it's taken me, and it still takes me some time to really process that she's not actually here. We're not in a down where the care home, and I can't see her and I can't contact her and I can't get hold of her on the phone because she's left the phone like on and no one can call her. It's, you know, she's actually not here. And I know she's in a better place because she was 90, incredible woman, and you know, she fought the fight, and you know, she had a, you know, her own ups and downs and her ailments, but I'm still processing it. You know, it's weird because people talk about losing people, and I'm like, oh, I've actually lost somebody because of COVID, and you know, and I know so many people that COVID, and then I'm like, and I lost somebody from COVID now as well, and I process that times, and that is really, and it hits you. It's almost like each time it hits you in the face, it's like, whoa. And I do go into myself sometimes, and I just have to, you know, have a bit of process on it, because it's not easy. You know, I wish I could just pick up the phone and talk to her, and I can't, you know, but what I think keeps me going is I think she's hopefully a better place now and at peace, and probably, you know, up there taking the mick out of me with my mum, absolutely, you know, making jokes at my expense probably, but you know, it takes a lot to kind of get myself back into that that positive way of thinking, because it is,
of course, no, definitely. And I think grief affects us all in so many different ways, and there's so many different stages of grief. And I just feel that one of the most difficult things that I've struggled with is I lost two of my uncles and a very close friend in a very short space of time this year. And in our society and in our culture, funerals are very much part of that grieving process. I know on the Jamaican side of things, we have something called a 9 night. So you meet up 9 nights after your loved one has passed, and you play music and you say prayers and you drink and you eat and you get together and you share all these fond memories. And I have memories of like when we did that for like my grandma, for example. And you know, there were stories that I heard that I never knew that my grandma did this or that she worked there. And you know, and that's a really beautiful thing, I think, when you lost someone that you love, where you can come together and almost, you know, keep their memory alive through stories. And it can be super hard. And I think that, like you say, that has been something that I've definitely been struggling with. It's like, how do we process this grief when we're in such a weird situation? And spot on, it doesn't seem real. It almost seems like you're in a bit of a hazy dream, and that when we come out of lockdown, everything's going to be fine, but it's not, because that has happened and we can't change that. You know, and I think say that again.
I said I completely agree. You know, for me, it's kind of like, I think the body has a way of just naturally, or at least the mind has this almost weird defense mechanism where it tries to make you feel better by tricking you into thinking that no, it's not actually happened. You know, they're taking a really long holiday, or you know, they're just not able to be gotten hold of at the moment, but you'll be able to soon. And then as you said, we'll come out of this and it will hit us probably hard again, because it's exactly like, you know, what you were saying about those nights where you get together and you share stories. It's almost the same, you know, in our culture, in my religion. It's very immediate, the funeral, and I find it really difficult with our culture how quickly a funeral is, because I don't think you have enough time to really process, and then you have those nights after where you say prayers and you get together, and we couldn't do that either. It was all on Zoom, and it was one
and it's different, it's not the same.
It's
that whole connection again. You want to hug somebody. If I see you cry, my initial human reaction is to give you a cuddle. You know. Exactly. No, I get that. And I just think for anybody out there that is suffering loss or has suffered loss, the one bit of advice that I feel that I could give you, and I know you briefly touched upon it, Kel, was sometimes take that time to just sit in your feelings. If you're having a shit day and you just want to cry and you want to stay in your bed, do that. because it's so important to process it, because like you said, it is like our minds have this switch to say, no, come on, we've got to keep going. But I think that can be so detrimental to our mental health, and it can be so damaging because you're not allowing your emotion to come out. And I think that, and I say it so many times on this show, and it's why I started this show, but it's like, I'm not a doctor, but I'm a believer that whatever we keep in us, it will end up killing us. Whether that's a laugh, a cry, sadness, happiness, whatever it is, we have to get it out. And I just think, yeah, if anybody has suffered loss over this lockdown, or is, you know, grieving the people that they've lost, really take time, you know, be kind to yourself, because we're not in normal circumstances. And yeah, we really need to kind of give ourselves a big cuddle when we can't get it from the people we love.
Exactly.
You know?
I think it's also important. I think one of the biggest things I've learned is that grieving is, one, it's not an overnight process. You know, my nan passed in October, which is quite short. My mum coming up to nearly, I think, 8 years, and I'm still grieving really from that. And there's no specific order to grief and how to grieve. People think like this, you know, there are these, I mean, I think it's crazy, these books that literally are like the 5 stages of grieving. And if that works for people, that's absolutely fine.
Cool. Yeah, no, but I agree.
No, I'm like number 3 right now, and then I'm going back to number 1, and then I'm
number 1, and I'm gonna
So I think that, you know, there's no specific process. You shouldn't think that you need to fit in to a specific grieving process, because that's not how it works. That's not how it's wired. And, you know, just accept that. And like you said, Kirsty, if you're having a really rubbish day, accept that you're having a rubbish day, and just,
I know that it's okay.
Yeah, get in the bed with a tub of Ben and Jerry's.
Yeah, and just do what makes you happy or makes you feel better.
Oh, crying it out is good. I think crying, and I don't do it enough, but cry every now and again is really good, because it releases those pent up emotions, for sure.
Yeah, no, and I agree, and I think that is key. It's to take time. And I don't think anyone can. I always say your journey of grief is personal to you. You know, because there are some days, I lost my grandma like 5 years ago, and I'm like, I thought it was like yesterday. But, you know, there are some days where I just think about her and I can just start crying like it was, I literally lost her yesterday. And then there's other days where I can talk about her freely and talk to her and have these little memories in my soul, you know. So I think that, it's about taking time and just doing what works for you. No one can tell you, you know, no one can tell you. I think that's super, super important. And I know, Kelly, that you also just mentioned that, you know, you lost mum, which was massively tragic for you. And I know what an impact that had on your life, and not everybody watching this will know that. But this is another reason why I wanted you on the show, because you have been through a lot in your life, and you are still this shining, just bubbly, big personality that always picks people up. And you know, and I know that, you know, from you losing mum, it was the start of your journey into teaching. And I think teaching is such a beautiful thing to do, because you're giving so much love to other people that need you. Like I said before in the show, these kids need you. And I want to ask you, like, when you lost your mum, and that was such a massive kind of happening in your life, how did you turn that pain into power to be where you are today? Because I do honestly think you're one of the strongest people I know.
Oh, thanks. And I think it wasn't an easy or a quick process. And it's
like me emotional.
It's hard. Don't cry. I'm sending you air hugs because we can't physically hug right now. Me, it was probably one of the most difficult things that has ever happened, because it wasn't something considered like somebody an old, you know, an older age and passed. You know, she was 40. I want to say 42. No, 52, 53. No. I can't even do the numbers because it's kind of like over my head. But that's it, 52. And I don't know why I'm losing my mind. I think for me, it didn't hit me for 2 years until after she passed. She passed at like 2:30 in the morning. My sister I were in the hospital asleep, and we woke, you know, we were woken up and she'd passed. You know, she was in a coma at that time, an induced coma because, you know, of the pain. And it was, I went to the gym. Like when she was taken, her body was taken, I went to the gym because that is what I had been doing for however many months is in the morning before I'd go to the hospital. Or off to work, or come home and make her breakfast, because I was living at home with her and my stepdad at the time because I was going to uni in London, whereas my sister was at a uni in Birmingham. And I know her is similar but also very different to mine. She had a lot of, you know, guilt of not always being there and wanting to be and looking after mum, whereas I was immersed in cancer and treatment and her being ill all the time. And that, you know, when she passed, not only did I was just kind of like, oh, what's my pain? I need to, you know, it's kind of what triggered my anxiety and OCD, is kind of having that. And then also I was just like, I get away from this house. Like I, you know, that decision to leave and move somewhere completely like away from everyone was seen by a lot of people in my family as me just being completely isolated and do with them, which wasn't the case at all. It's just I deal with being there. And I'll be honest, things got worse before they got better. You know, they got worse a few years. I know, Kirst, like you've seen it, you know, my mental health massively declined. You know, I lost a lot of weight out of stress from that, and then I put a lot of weight back on in even more, which, you know, impacted me on physically and emotionally. And then on top of that, I was just processing the fact that I, you know, mum, you know, gone. And only really about probably 3-4 years after mum passed away that I actively rebuilt myself. And I can't pinpoint what exactly it was that I was like, I need to rebuild. You know, my relationship broke down and I had to move back home. And obviously home for me, my dad's and my mums, who were amazing, and they were really supportive. You know, I had a spare room with an ensuite that I was able to have my own space. I was working at the school as a learning support assistant. I'd only just really started a year after mum passed working at the school. So, you know, my journey building my career had already begun. And so then I had another knockback when my relationship broke down, but I had incredible support with family and friends in building that back up. And when I was able to get my flat and then my take off, I was then like, right, these things are really important and I love what I'm doing. And I can really say that I've achieved something huge here. You know, I've got my own place and my career's starting. Do not screw it up. Like, you know, you deserve to be successful. You deserve to be happy. And I wasn't. Yeah. Like I was being successful, but I wasn't happy. Like I couldn't smile. Like I would go every single day thinking about my mum and feeling sad about my mum. Yeah. It wasn't like, you know, it wasn't like there's a picture obviously behind these old school photo of my mum, but I couldn't have things like that up flat, you know, because I was so, you know, I'd look at it, it would make me really upset. You know, I used to have a picture beside my just picture beside my bed, which was one of the last pictures of me and my sister and my mum looked very ill in that picture in hospital, but I had to have it by my bed because I would wake up and forget what happened. You know, it was like my brain would, I'd need to, you know, remind myself every morning, you know. And I used to have people, you know, you've got that picture beside your bed, that is so sad, like that. I was like, I know, but there's a reason. I would literally forget. I'd wake up and be like, where am I? And it was I, you know, and I hit some low points, and luckily my dad was very supportive, saying, you know, I'm gonna pay for you to go and see a private psychiatrist and talk everything out and see what is going on, because you are having highs and lows. And I know that you're loving your job, but the impact on your job, you know, you deserve to be happy. You know,
yeah.
happy. This doesn't define who you are. It just is a part of what's happened. And it's going to build you up. You know, you need to build yourself up, Kelly, you know. And then I went to an incredible psychiatrist who literally, I'm pretty sure, was sick of me by the time that we'd finished our I swear, you know, she probably charged my dad like 3 times the amount, because at the time I'm really she literally said, you know what, you have been through so much, and it wasn't just with losing mum and the 4.5 years of trying to be there and support her, and your life being consumed by cancer and losing your own identity, really.
Yeah.
But it was also your childhood and your upbringing. It wasn't the easiest either, and all of that has really made you, you know, impacted on your emotional stability. You know, you're very,
of course.
You need to sleep, and you need to, you know, feel regulated. And so, you know, she gave me some medication which literally just helps me to sleep, get me to sleep and have a good night's sleep, and then I can get up and actually get on with my day. And when I started to be able to sleep and actually feel good waking up, and I see a therapist, which I don't see as much now because I'm a lot further down on my journey, but I still see, because even if I'm having a good week, I want to tell my therapist I'm having a good week, you know, like this happened. And it's really good to have someone to talk to who's not biased. You know, I know I can talk to family, but they only know certain parts, and they need to be objective. These people that you talk to need to sometimes have objectivity. And you know, this is, as I said, it's 8 years now since mum, and it's literally been the last 3 or 4 where it's been, you know, step up, you know, getting better.
You've really been turning that pain into power.
Yeah.
It's like you've processed the healing, and it's kind of, you've got yourself to a point of acceptance and also self-love. I think loving yourself, you know, when you said before you wasn't happy, and understanding and truly understanding. I know it's such a cliche, and I always say it, do what you love and be happy, but it's so true, because we only get one life. And if we're in a mundane job or a mundane relationship, or just in a shit like environment that's not nourishing the beautiful flowers that we need to grow, you know, what is the point? So it really like makes my heart feel amazing that, you know, you were able to get yourself to that place. And Aaron has just commented here saying, I'm glad you found your purpose, queen. And I think that is, it's so true. You know, sometimes in life we can focus too much on finding our purpose, whereas if we just start living it, our purpose becomes presented in front of us. Absolutely. You know, and I think that's, you know, testament to you and the person you are and the job that you have, Kelly. And it just makes my heart so happy that you're in a place where you feel truly yourself. You know, that is blooming, that is blossoming, that is just amazing. And you can see it on your face. Like, you look absolutely gorgeous, Kel. Thanks. Not that you don't any other time. Do you know what I mean? But it's like, I feel, I said, we've known each other. Hey?
I definitely look better today. I put makeup on for you and everything.
No, you look gorgeous. But I mean, we've known each other since we were like, what, 18 months old or something crazy. And life has been roller coasters as we've crossed paths, and, you know, we've come in and out of each other's lives. And I just know that from speaking to you, especially since like last year and with everything that's going on, I can feel like a whole new energy. It's like you've stepped into Phenomenal Woman Part 2. You know, it's like, you know, that, you know, like your dad said, it can't define you. Grief can't define you. It's something that's happened, and you really have to be strong to, you know, keep glowing and keep moving and keep growing. And, you know, I'm just so, so proud of you and all that you've done. Like I said, you're one of the most amazing people that I know in my life. You're so strong. And this is why you were on the show today, because somebody like you needs to be praised. You're an unsung hero. And you're going to get me emotional again. Oh my God, stop it. So before I start crying and making this a sob story, Kel, do you have any wise words of wisdom for anybody out there? I don't know, just anything that you feel to say to anybody, because we've actually been talking for 1 hour and 5, and I feel like we could keep talking for another hour, but we can't. So yeah, have you got any more wise words of wisdom for any of our viewers?
I think the most important thing that I would want people to take home is literally to say it's okay not to be okay. That is, and I know people say it all the time, but I genuinely believe it, and I have to tell it to myself. I still have days where I'm not okay, you know, and I have to pick myself up and go, you can do this, you are responsible for a lot of people, and you've got an incredible support system, and it is okay that I don't feel all right, but you crack on, and you need to, you know, process this, and that's important because you know, we are all incredible individuals, we are humans, we are complex, and therefore we are not going to be feeling, you know, top of the morning to you 24/7 every day. We don't, and that's the biggest take home. It's okay not to be okay.
No, and I love that, and I think that that can be slung around here, there and everywhere, but we really need to digest it. It needs to be something that, you know, so it's like when you say to someone, oh, you're all right, yeah, I'm okay, but you're not okay, because I'm having the shittest day, and actually I'm going to say to you, I'm not all right. You know, it's super important. No, Kelly, I love that. Listen, I hate that we've got to cut this short. I love you so much. You're amazing. You're one of our unsung heroes on our Holla, Our Heroes edition. Thank you so much for coming on, guys. This is Kelly Burack. This is Real Relevant and Right Now. And also, I'm going to tag Kel in this, but I'm sure if any of you guys want to ask her any questions, work-wise, grief-wise, whatever, get in her DMs. Literally.
Absolutely.
Kelly, I love you so much. Thank you so much, my beautiful friend. And I'll see you soon.
Speak soon, guys. See ya.
Bye.